Okay, hello everybody. We are going live. All right, let me pull up all the information that we need. This is going to be all about how to be your own best matchmaker. And we are talking about some secrets to matchmaking, So there's lots of matchmakers in the world, and some people, they set you up, but how about if you set yourself up? How about if you were your own best matchmaker? Wouldn't that be incredible? I would love it. Because if you are your own best matchmaker, you are able to help yourself more than anybody else in the world because you know yourself the best. That's what's so awesome about it. Anyway, let me make an introduction now that we have some people on here. I am Aleeza Ben Shalom, and I have been working in matchmaking and dating and relationship coaching for the last 15 years. You can find me on IG at Aleeza Ben Shalom. You can find me on Facebook, wherever. Just Google my name, you will find me. And I absolutely love what I do. I have been helping not only daters to find their person, but I have been training Shidduchim and coaches around the world, over 150 matchmakers and coaches I have done a training program for. I aspire to train the entire matchmaking world, and I figured, hey, why not empower the people who are dating to be their own best matchmaker, right? Why don't I tell you all of the inside secrets, all of those details and all of those things that we know that we're already naturally doing? So I'm going to dig in. I have a whole bunch of things that I'm going to run through, and then people sent questions in. So if you have any questions about how to be your own best matchmaker or what to do in matchmaking, and if you want those questions answered live, please just submit them. Just comment. I'd love to hear them. Okay, so here we go. Let me see. I'm going to pull this a little bit closer. I will have my computer, and I will have you guys right here, right next to me. Okay, so first of all, wait, let's just say hi. Who is here? Oh my gosh, there's so many people. I don't know if I know, if you guys know me. If you know me, say a special hello. If you don't know me, also say a special hello. I'm so happy to be here with you. Hello. Okay, so here we go. Number one, in terms of being your own best matchmaker. So have a good understanding of what you're looking for, which mostly people do. But what they don't have is a good way of explaining it to somebody else, okay? So most people will like, oh, I know myself. I know what I want. Like, Aleeza, I know what I'm looking for. And I'm like, oh, okay, describe it. And they're like, well, I mean, it's kind of hard to put them to words because, and then they start telling me all these contradictions. So like, I like somebody who's outgoing, but like I also want somebody who's okay to stay at home. And I want somebody who's, into learning, but I want to make sure they're also going to have a profession, and I need somebody who's balanced in that way. And I want somebody who's like totally a family man, but also I don't want them like all over me and like, like in my face. And all of a sudden they're coming up with all of these contradictions. And it's like, wait, how does that work? How do I want certain things, and I want the opposite of that too. How do I make those, like, make sense of those things and explain it to somebody else? So I'm going to always tell you, explain the contradictions, explain those differences, explain those things that on one hand don't make sense, but to me as a matchmaker, it makes perfect sense because we're not fitting you into a neat little box. What we're doing is we're trying to have you completely understood by somebody or somebody else, right? We want matchmakers, friends, family members, work colleagues, people, in other circumstances. We want everybody to know who you are, and we want them to understand all of those nuances and all of those differences. That's what makes you you. That's what's like, oh my gosh, so amazing and so spectacular. It's that I actually get you because I understand those nuances. So don't be afraid to explain those nuances. And when you're asking details about another person, don't be afraid to ask more information. Okay. So if somebody's telling you like, oh yeah, great guy, great girl, good personality and easygoing and flexible. And you're like, okay, like generic, right? Tell me some specifics. Okay. So what does great guy or great girl like translate to? Oh, a great guy. Well, you know what? When he comes over for Shabbos, he's always carrying a Shabbos gift. So thoughtful. He always runs to play with the kids. She's always helping, in the kitchen. She picks up the slack. She knows right what to do. And she's there by my side, right? Oh, now I know information. It's not just that you're a great person. It's that you're a helpful person. You're a thoughtful person. You're a kind person. You're a person who jumps in right away to make something happen. To me, that's so much information and details. So this is another one of the secrets. Don't tell information, tell stories, okay? So I don't want to list with commas. I am kind, comma, loving, comma, sweet, comma, wonderful, comma, generous, comma, good-hearted, comma, okay? No. Tell me a story about one of those things. Tell me something meaningful. One of the guys that I was working with went every Friday, and he visited Sophie at the old age home, and he would sit and talk, and she would tell him all these stories, and they would tell jokes together, and they would laugh. And he was like, my whole goal, Aleeza, was to go there and to make her laugh. If I got one laugh out of her, I was over the moon excited. My day was complete, okay? Now, what do I know about this guy? He goes out of his way on a Friday to go visit Sophie. Sophie's not his grandmother. It's somebody else's grandmother. He goes to visit Sophie. Why? Because nobody else is visiting Sophie. He goes to visit Sophie because nobody else knows about Sophie. He wants to connect, and he wants to do something good for somebody else in the world, right? Now I know a lot about this guy, right? This is Yossi. He goes to see Sophie every week, right? There's something so special about knowing a story about somebody. So don't be afraid to tell a story about yourself, and don't be afraid to ask for different stories. Like, can you give me an example, right, of what that means? In order to be your own best matchmaker, you need to be really good at networking. If you are not good at networking, you need to get good at networking. What does networking mean? It means just talking to lots of people that you know and meeting their friends and friends of their friends. It means to sometimes talking to people that you don't know. It doesn't really matter. We want you networked. We want you interconnected. We want you always expanding your network, because the more people you know, the more opportunities you'll have to meet new people and to have the right person put in front of you. So what I don't want as your own matchmaker, I don't want you just like going out with everybody just for the sake of going out. What I'd really love is you having plenty of options coming in. And when you have options coming in, you can filter through them and choose the right options. You can choose people that are more highly qualified. Why? Because you're more networked, because you spoke to more people, okay? Who should you speak to? Who should you reach out to? I highly recommend finding people that you would more likely be friends with, right? If they're your kind of people, they might know other people who are also your kind of people. And that's really great when you have people that know you and the people that you know, that you like, that you feel connected to, they might know somebody else that might be a good match for you. That's how good matchmaking happens. Another way that networking and matchmaking happens, so I was sitting at the local deli, and the waiter comes over to serve, whatever, sitting there with somebody who's dating, looking for somebody, and they're a little too shy to say it. So I did it for them. I was like, anybody who's single around this age, really, and I give a few details, has a lot of personality, a lot of charm, a lot of chen, somebody who's warm and engaging and friendly and outgoing and personable and all these things, right? And the waiter kind of laughed, and he was like, no, actually, maybe. And I was like, okay, good. Send me the name and number. Let me look into it. Let me see who else is out there. So if you're one of those outgoing people and you don't mind to do this, you could just actually connect with anybody. It really doesn't matter who it is. We never know who our matchmaker is going to be. Your matchmaker, if you want to matchmake yourself the best way possible, you want to try to find the right people to connect with, and you might be your matchmaker, or you and somebody else together are going to match up your match, right? So you're going to go and be a team, a matchmaking team together. And that's something that's really special. Not everybody can do that, has the ability to do that. But if you know that that's something that you need to do, which is to partner with other people in the world, then you make that effort, then you never know what can come from it. Okay, so being your own best matchmaker and networking. Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute and I'm going to pull up one of the questions that came in. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so what about the concept of one side being ready, the other side not being ready, and committing, like one side's ready to commit after a lot of dates and the other side is not so ready to commit after so many dates. So how does that work? Like, how do you as a matchmaker navigate through something like that? The answer is that we specifically give the person who needs time more time, okay? It goes like this. You can only move as fast as the slowest person in the relationship. If it's not you, it's the other person, okay? If it's not you, if you are not the slow person in the relationship, it's the other side. You cannot move any faster than they move, okay? If we are in a car together, the other person is the driver, okay? I want to go 75 on the highway. The other person is only moving at 60. How fast are we going to go? Well, they're the driver, okay? The driver is the slowest person in the relationship, okay? They move the speed. So can you nurture a relationship on? Yes. Can you do other things to help a relationship? Yes. Can you move faster? You can only move as fast as that person is willing to go. And some people take more time. So what do you have to do? You have to be patient. You have to be calm. You have to be supportive, warm, engaging. You have to help them through this process. And as you help them, they become more comfortable. And the more comfortable they become, the more easy it is for them to move ahead to the next stages. Okay? I'm not asking you to wait around forever, but I'm just asking you to match their pace. Okay? If you and I were going on a walk, okay? And then we started to jog, and I can't keep up so much, but you want to jog with me because you want to talk and you want to hang out, right? And you go faster than me. How nice of a jog are we going to have together? Not a nice one at all. It's not going to work. So what do we have to do? Well, I can't match your pace. If I could, I would move that fast, but I can't. So what do you have to do? You have to slow your pace down to match my pace. And when you match my pace, then we can move together. So this is all about us moving together. Okay, so somebody else is asking here on the chat, if you aren't a social person, what can you do to start dating? So if you aren't a social person, what you can do to be your own best matchmaker is to have other people be social for you, meet people, and help to make connections. So your job as a matchmaker is just to talk to the people in your innermost circle. So that goes mother, father, sister, brothers, aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces, grandparents, okay? Anybody in your family circle. That goes to anybody in your, whether you're a student or you're working, anybody in that next sphere, that outer circle. And then any of your friends. And then if you're comfortable, because if you're shy, it's just not going to work, but anybody in your community, anybody that you regularly see at a Shabbos or a Kiddush or a holiday event or something like that, where you might be able to say something. Like go just an inch outside of your comfort zone. Just take one baby step in a direction so that you can build a larger network or a stronger network. It's not a larger network because you're not necessarily going outside of your network, but it's a stronger network because it's activated by you, because you're talking to people about it and you're building this rapport in this relationship, okay? Okay, so we're going to move back to this list here. And then also I want to say, if you have any questions about how to be your own best matchmaker, how to get things moving, please type it in the chat. I would love to see the comments, and I have some that are submitted already, so we're going to read through those as well. Okay, one other way to be a really good matchmaker, you've got to be a good listener, okay? When people start to talk, you find out details. Now, I'm not even talking about anybody outside of your circles. I'm just talking about good people talking about, oh, and my coworker the other day, you know, the single guy, he's really great, da 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 da. All of a sudden you're like, wait, your ears perk up, okay? Be a really attentive listener. Pay attention, see what people are sharing, and when you notice something, say something. Okay? One of my matchmaking colleagues always says, when you see something, say something. When you hear something, say something, okay? When it comes to your attention that there's potential, follow up. If you're too reserved and you're too shy and you can't, get a friend, get a family member, get somebody else in your circles to follow up for you. Or if you're comfortable with it, then you follow up and you see what you can do to learn more about that. I'm going to give you an example. One of my clients was at a Shabbos dinner, and a rabbi from out of town was at the table, and he started talking about, you know, two of the single people that he knew in his community, and her ears perked up, you know, and the rabbi spoke about one guy and one girl and gave some information, and the more she heard, the more she started thinking, oh my gosh, I think this guy is for me. But she was afraid and really shy to go over to the rabbi and say something. She didn't know him. He was an out-of-town Rav. So she went over to the Rebbitzin of her community that she was comfortable with and said, can you help me make this connection? I think this guy might be appropriate for me. And the Rebbitzin spoke to the out-of-town Rav, and they made the Shidduch. And it turned out to be that was her beshert. And it was all because of her efforts. Why? Because she was paying attention, because she was listening, because she noticed something, she picked up on it, and she was able to make her own match. Okay? Between her and the Rav, they pulled it together, but she became her own matchmaker. And without her perking up and listening and paying attention, it was never going to happen. Okay, so that's all about listening. And notice also not just what people are saying, also pay attention to what they don't say. A lot of people will talk about things, and a lot of people will leave things out. What they don't say is also important, okay? So you're listening for what's being said, and then you're paying attention and going, I noticed they didn't say this, okay? Oh, I noticed so-and-so was talking about their neighbor. They didn't say they were single. They also didn't say they were married. They also didn't say they were divorced. They didn't really even say that they had kids. Wait, I wonder if they are available. I wonder if they're dating. Right? So they didn't bring it up as a dater. They didn't bring it up as somebody who was available. But because you were listening and paying attention, maybe you're going to find clues to somebody. Okay? So that's about active listening. All right, we're going to flip back for 1 second and go to some questions that have popped in. So somebody popped in to say, and this is like being their own matchmaker, they're a little scared of this situation. I'm scared to join the workforce, even though yeshiva is really just not working out, because I'm scared I won't get like a normal girl. Like maybe she won't want me if I'm in the regular workforce. Maybe I'll end up with somebody who's, you know, different than what I'm really looking for. And so like he's just sticking with yeshiva because he thinks that matchmaking, being his own matchmaker, is going to be easier that way. So what's my answer to that? My answer is that I think that all different types of people do all different types of things. And there are high quality women who want high quality men who are in the workforce, that they're not learning all day. Maybe they're Kovei team, maybe they have a regular time that they're focused on their learning, but they go out and they work. Maybe they just have a chavrusa and they learn once a week or twice a week or whatever it is. Maybe they have a daily seder, but they're also working. It doesn't matter what it is. If you are unhappy in yeshiva, if it's not your makom, if you're not thriving, it's going to be very hard to find somebody wonderful because you're an unhappy human. And if you're an unhappy human, you're only going to attract other unhappy humans. So it doesn't matter that you're in yeshiva, you're not going to find somebody wonderful because you're not in a place where you're satisfied with yourself. And if you don't even like who you are and where you're at, how is somebody else going to connect to you and like who you are? So to be your own best matchmaker, I would recommend doing something that is going to bring you joy. I want to see a smile on your face. I want to know that in your heart and soul, you are feeling so deeply satisfied with what you're doing. Then you know what you're going to attract? You are going to attract a girl or a woman who is also satisfied with her life, who loves who she is and loves what she is doing. And she's also going to be really satisfied with you. When you are satisfied with yourself, you're going to get a partner who is also going to be satisfied with you. So to me, it's a win-win for you to follow your dreams and do what you want to do and do something that's going to make you happy. Now, I'm going to throw this in there. I'm not somebody who just says, oh, just do whatever you want. Just be happy and everything will work out. Okay? You have to be happy, right? It's you need to be a joyful human, because if you're joyful, you will attract joy. Joy isn't the only thing. You have to have meaning. You have to have purpose. You have to have so much in your world and in your life, but you need to also be happy, because if you're not happy, you're going to attract somebody who is really unhappy. And maybe you'll think that she's a great person, but she won't be a happy person. And usually great people are happy. So the best way to get a great person is for you to be great. And the best way for you to be great is to be doing something that brings you joy, that is deeply meaningful to you. So find something that's meaningful to you. Okay, so that was another question that came in. If you have questions, throw them in the comments, please. How to be your own best matchmaker. That's what we're talking about. If you have comments, if you have thoughts, if you have ideas about how to be your own best matchmaker, you can also throw them in the comments. I want to know what your ideas are. I want to hear about it. This is like, it's a one-way/two-way discussion. The more you engage, the more that we can chat about it. Okay, so here we go. Okay. This was like, I talked just a minute ago about being a really good listener, but also in this is paying attention to details, okay? Are you listening to somebody and they're telling you about somebody else and, you're like, oh, they only want to live out of town. Oh, I really want to live in town. But everything else sounds amazing, so let's just make this work. No. They only want to live out of town. You want to live in town. Your family's there. They also love their family. They don't want to leave theirs. So even though there's lots of things that are going to work, it might not. You don't have to say no to the Shidduch, but you should investigate it more, and you should go up to the person and say, listen, I really want to live in town. I heard they want to live out of town, but everything else you said, it's amazing. I love the way this match sounds. So it's like, Chaval, why should I pass this match up when it could be a match that's really going to work for me? Would you talk to them and see if this is something they're open to? Because I'm not really flexible. Or maybe you need to say to yourself, should I be flexible in this area? This person sounds so wonderful. Should I actually consider living out of town, away from my family, doing something that I never thought I was going to do? Okay, it can go either way. So the goal is to pay attention to the details, notice the details. Don't give up a Shidduch because of that, but pause, ask questions, get more information, and question. Be discreet. Oh, okay. I think we're back. Sorry about that. Connection issue. Okay, so be discreet. Have the ability to maintain confidentiality, okay? This is for you as well, okay? Not just the other side. I'm talking about you. What do you need to share about yourself in terms of matchmaking, and what do you need to not say, okay? Things can be said down the road on a second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh date. There's a proper time to say different things, and not everything needs to be said up front. Sometimes people need to have an amount of buy-in. There has to be an amount of a connection between the two of you, and then it would be appropriate to say something. If we're talking about, let's bring up medical conditions. At what point should you say that? I have worked with dozens of people, and each Rav has given a different psak on when somebody should say something. Sometimes people have said the second date. Sometimes they've said the third date. I've heard the fourth, the fifth. I've even heard as late as an eighth date to say something. It depends on what it is. It depends on the emotional connection, whether something's building very quickly or very slowly. And it really depends on each individual couple. So make sure you're being discreet with your own personal information. And some people, they'll like me for who I am. And if they don't like me for who I am, then I don't want them. It's totally not my approach, okay? My approach is, yes, your person will like you for who you are, and you need to share who you are in slow, bite-sized bits. People need to know who you are in little increments. Bit by bit, they need to know about you, and you only need to tell them what's relevant for now, okay? So today on a first date, X is appropriate, and on a third date, something else is appropriate. And before you meet, what you share, that's also appropriate. There's very, very different things that we say at very different times. So if you're not sure what to say and you're not sure when to say it or how to say it, if you guys want to throw in an anonymous question that I can answer, I would be happy to do that. But make sure that you are being discreet about your matchmaking and about yourself and what you share and when you share it. Okay. Another tip about being your own best matchmaker. Now, everybody's going to have this differently. A good memory or really good notes would help, okay? So if you do not have a good memory, if it's during the week, grab your phone, take notes down, okay? If it's on Shabbos, call somebody back and take notes later. If you have a good memory, then this is going to be easy for you. But details, details, details. Remembering things, following up with different leads, different people that you meet. Matchmakers are constantly networking. Matchmakers are super connectors that bring people together. But you as your own matchmaker, it's kind of like a spider with all of your legs, or like an octopus with all of the tentacles that are out there. Like you're in the center, and those things are reaching out to the world to bring different people into you so that we get the right match that's coming your way. It's really important that we focus on these things and that you have enough focus. Again, I'm saying focus, but focus on what's being said to you and remember what's being said to you so that you can follow up on things with detail and be kind of more knowledgeable and more presentable as you're talking about matchmaking and working through the process to try to find your match. Okay, I'm going to pull up another question that came in. Is it okay for a girl? Okay, so the way it's written is a little confusing, so I'll try to get this straight. A guy and a girl went out. The guy said no. The girl would like to revisit the Shidduch idea. Is revisiting the idea only okay if it's done by the party that said no? Or can I, as the side that wanted the Shidduch to go, even though it didn't go, can I talk to the Shadchan and revisit the idea? So the answer is that you 100% can revisit any idea at any time. I'm going to give you my recommendation in terms of matchmaking. I would recommend that you revisit ideas, I would say every about 3 months, okay? So if you guys go out and you break up, the other person broke up with you, you really wanted it to continue, and you're like, oh, it didn't work out, okay. In 3 months from now, talk to the Shadchan and say, listen, I'm wondering if they're open to revisiting. I think it's a good idea because, give them the reason, and would you mind to reach out to them? That to me is a great way to do that. That's probably my best answer. If it was a longer dating period, like you guys dated for whatever you consider a long time, and if things got really serious, 3 months might not be long enough. There might be some things that have to heal over time, and you might need to like revisit 6 months out. That's another possibility. Okay, so I see some questions coming in on the live chat, and I am going to answer them. Do you think it's appropriate to bring a pen and a paper on a date to take notes, or is that weird? It's not normal to bring pen and paper. So whatever you can remember. Sometimes people remember things by, I once got this memory book when I was in college, and it talked about like, there's different memorization techniques. So if they talked about, I don't know, they love writing, they are very into, I don't know, I'm trying to come up with all these things off the top of my head, but if somebody's telling you they love writing and you're like, oh, I want to remember that, I don't know, I'm going to remember all these details, right? So you can picture in your mind visually a huge pen, just scribbling things down, okay? So that when you go home, you're going to have this visualization of a big pen, and you're like, oh, a big pen, oh, right, because they love writing, okay, and what else? If you want to remember 5 different things, you kind of exaggerate something, and that is a memorization technique that will help you to remember things. So my recommendation would be no, do not bring a pen and paper on a date, but yes, try to come up with some memorization techniques to remember the things that are said to you. Okay, here we go. Another question. I've been asked on a first date where the girl just follows a script and it feels like it's a fake dance until later on. Why can't a first date be normal, low stakes conversation between two people? It's so funny. I was just talking about this with a client that I was coaching, and she's like, I hate the interview date, which is like the first date, where it's like firing off Q&A, like, well, where are you from? And what's your family like? And what do you do? And it's like question after question, and it's question, answer, instead of deep, meaningful conversation, which would be like, not what do you do, but what do you love about what you do? Now we have a good question. What do you love about what you do? Okay, that's not an interview question. That's a heart and soul question. Now I can get to know you, okay? Not where do you live? What's, like, of all the places that you live, what's your most favorite place and why? Ooh, now I'm going to learn something interesting about you. Even if you've only ever lived one place. You can say, I've only ever lived one place, and I don't know if I want to live somewhere else, or if I think something else is more interesting. I've never lived anywhere else, right? Or wow, I've lived in 3 different cities. Or my family, one client of mine, she's like, we lived in 8 different cities. We moved around because my dad kept getting new jobs and we just kept moving. And my favorite place, I love Chicago. And I'm like, why do you love Chicago, right? And all of a sudden we have a conversation. So a first date can be normal if we get to the heart and soul of why somebody likes what they like and what's important to them, and how they live their life, as opposed to the what and where of all the details of their life. So why can't it be low stakes? I mean, two people are usually nervous on a first date, so it's not that it's not low stakes. It's just that we always have our hopes up, like, you could be my one. I went out with you because you could be the one. And when I start to feel that way, then I start to get nervous. And when I start to get nervous, then the stakes start to feel a little bit higher, and I'm not feeling so calm anymore, and it's not feeling so easy. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions that came in here. Hello to everybody who's joining. Thank you. If everybody wants to say where you're from, or where you're currently living right now, I will tell you. I am now living in Eretz Yisrael. I used to live in Philadelphia. We made Aliyah a year and a half ago. Yay! And we are happily living here in Eretz Yisrael. I live in Pardes Chana, which is in the north. It is halfway between Tel Aviv and Haifa. It is absolutely beautiful. And right now I am coming to you live from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. I am in town to do some special recordings. One of them is for you, and some other things. So I'm so happy. So let's see. Oh, we've got Brooklyn in the house. We've got London. We've got another Brooklyn. We've got another I Love Brooklyn. I have to tell you, I love Brooklyn too. When I was in the States, I used to do programs in Brooklyn. Maybe like Avenue L and something Ocean. There's a beautiful synagogue that's there. I had my Brooklyn Angel, who used to help me throw the most incredible parties. Loved being there. I live in the Netherlands. Hello, Daniel from the Netherlands. Wow. And I love Israel. Yay. Love Israel too. So happy to be here. Okay, if anybody else, you want to shout out where you're from, I would love to hear. If you have any more questions specifically about how to be your own best matchmaker, how to set yourself up for success, pop your questions in there. If you have any comments, you want to have a little dialogue back and forth with me, pop in anything that you want to say. I'd love to hear from you. And meantime, let's keep going with this list here. So we have... Okay, so in terms of being your own best matchmaker, if you are not super familiar with healthy relationships, if you don't have a vast knowledge of all different relationship types, I would tell you to give yourself an education about what types of relationships there are out there, how different couples exist in a healthy relationship. And hello, Austria. Hello, Fort Lauderdale. And another Austria. Nope, same person, just twice. So what we really want to know is, how much do you know about relationships? Have you been in healthy relationships yourself? Have you seen healthy relationships? Modern day, many more divorces are happening. It's very difficult to know what a healthy relationship is. Are your parents married, and do they like each other? Do they have a happy, healthy relationship? Are your grandparents married? Do they like each other? Do they have happy, healthy relationships? How about your aunts? How about your uncles? Rabbis and rebbitzins, community members that you know, friends, anybody in your circles, co-workers. Who do you know that has a healthy and a happy relationship? Actually, I would love it if you would pop that in the chat. Who do you know in your circles? And just list all the different people, whether it's, parents or siblings or coworkers or anybody in your circles. Who do you know that has a happy and a healthy marriage and relationship with their partner? So while you guys are throwing it in the chat, I'm going to tell you that my parents were married. My mom passed away 6 years ago, but they were married my entire life. They had a beautiful relationship, and they were always working, and they were learning, and they were growing. My in-laws have celebrated 60 years together. 60 years together. They've been married. And in terms of a happy and a healthy relationship, they know what they're doing. They've figured each other out. They have this down pat. Same thing, I have grandparents on both sides that were married, and I've seen a lot of long-term happy and healthy relationships. Our Rav, who married us, also has a beautiful relationship, really was a shining example of how to live with a partner. And I've thank God, had so many people that I've been blessed to have as role models. But as I'm working with my clients and we talk about this, a lot of people tell me, I don't have a lot of healthy role models. People are married, but they're not happily married. People are married, but they're not healthfully married. People are married, but they're thinking about divorce. I've had some clients tell me, Aleeza, there's nobody in my circles that is married. Everybody's divorced. Maybe they're remarried, or maybe they're divorced more than once or 3 times, and I don't really know what a happy, healthy relationship is. I don't see it in my world. So if you don't know and don't see what a happy, healthy relationship is, I want you to go out there and I want you to find one. I want you to find a role model for yourself so that you can see what a happy and a healthy relationship is, so that you can experience it from an outsider's perspective, but somebody who can experience it, right? Visually, auditorily, you can see it, you can hear it, you can be in the presence of people that are loving and caring and generous towards each other. Somebody wrote in, everybody in my circles has healthy relationships, I think. Thank God. That's incredible. And I have to tell you, that is highly unusual. So you're really blessed to have that. Somebody else wrote in, there's a couple in the community and a family friend abroad that stick out in my mind. Good. It's good that you have people, whether they're near or far, it doesn't actually matter. The fact that you know about them and they stick out in your mind, that's what's important to me, that you have that as a role model. Okay, let's see. My best friend, my best friend's a good role model, but I'm scared. Wait, is this with this? Hold on, that might be a question. Hang on, here we go. Digging into something else, my friends. Here we go. What is the healthiest way to deal with a heartbreak? Like if a guy says no and the girl really liked him. So the best way to deal with a heartbreak, number 1, time. Give yourself time to heal. You cannot move through this quickly. Do not rush to the next best thing because, hey, it'll mend my broken heart. It won't. Broken hearts could last decades if you don't properly heal them. So it's really important that you work on mending your heart. Number 2, acceptance. Like mourning the loss of this potential relationship and accepting the fact that it is what it is. And Hashem said no. And it's not to be. I would say you have to look at it and you have to say, what is the blessing, right? I actually have a video. I think it's called it's about rejection, and it's about the blessing in a no. It's on aish.com, and you can look it up, and it talks all about the blessing in a no, that if it's not the right person and it's not the right time, then we're not moving ahead. Now, it could be the right person, but not the right time, but I don't want you to hold on to that, because if you hold on to that, then you won't properly heal your heart. You need to heal your heart. If the person comes back to you and your heart is healed, you can open your heart up again. okay? Rather than holding on to hope and having a broken heart and not ever being able to fully move on, not with this person and not with anybody. That's the difference. So give it time, learn to, and make peace with it, and learn to accept the situation. Accept that Hashem said no. It's not this person that said no. They delivered the message, but Hashem said no. And also look at it and go, okay, if this person wasn't for me, maybe I would have ended up divorced or miserable, or something could have happened. This is protection. Rejection is protection. Somebody said that to me recently, and I thought it was very catchy and very memorable. Rejection is protection. It's not going to feel that way. It's not going to make your heart feel better, but it's going to slowly sink into your brain. And when your brain starts to grasp it and tie itself onto it, then you're going to start to feel a little bit better. And time. Give yourself time. Give yourself a month, 2 months, 3 months. It depends how much you were into it, how excited you were. The more excited you are, the more time you'll need to heal. Okay, so this I'm not sure I understand. So Deborah, you could maybe write in and explain a little bit more. It says, my best friend, but I'm scared to meet someone who becomes different in a few months. I'm not sure what the best friend part refers to, but yes, we are all scared, and we all should be scared of somebody changing in a few months. And dating for long enough so that you have confidence that you know the person that you met at the core, at the soul of who they are, will be who they are going to be. It's really important that you remember that, and that you can feel that. And we can't always know. People do change, and people do shift over time, and it is a part of the relationship gamble that we take. But I would tell you to date long enough, have multiple experiences with this person, different places, different times, surrounded by different types of people, see how they react, watch, and look for consistency. And the more consistent they are, the more you know that they should be consistent over time. Okay. Checking out to see what other questions you guys have here. I have a friend that was extremely trusting, but he is in the process of a divorce, and the family were extremely rude to him. There's a lot of difficult and painful situations that happen, and we have to not only, as a matchmaker, not only be trusting, but we have to be wise, and we have to be discerning, and we have to not just trust, but we have to investigate situations so that we can see what is really going to be appropriate and healthy and the right thing for us. How is this person supposed to trust again? I think that trust takes time. Trust takes investigation, learning about somebody and learning about them a little bit more deeply and a little bit more seriously. And they're probably going to have to date for a little bit longer. And they also have to mend their broken heart. They have to go through the process of mourning the loss of the relationship that they thought that they had, and moving on to a potential new relationship that's going to be different for them. There's going to be some wounds. I definitely recommend therapy in that situation. The right type of therapist can help somebody move through deep wounds and really challenging situations. Okay, thank you, and you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you guys for asking really great questions. I'm just going to scroll down to see if there's more things here. Is it normal for the first to help plan the date? For the who? Is it normal for who to help plan the first date? Write back to me and tell me, because the question isn't clear to me. How do you learn about a person more? So I would tell you to ask open-ended questions. Ask questions that are going to lead you to understanding a person more deeply. And as a matchmaker, you kind of want to be a little bit of a detective. You want, not a detective like you're seeking to solve a crime, but a detective in that you're looking for clues all around. You're searching for clues about a person. You're looking to get to know them better, to get to understand them better, to connect with them more. All of those things are really important. That's kind of how I would handle that. Okay, another question. How do we not take our past dating baggage into new dating experiences? It's so hard not to expect the same outcome. Yes, 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 Tanya, I am so with you. It is so difficult not to schlep your dating baggage with you from an old situation into a new one, and especially if it's happened more than once. Okay, if it's happened more than once and the same thing happens again and again, it's like, oh my gosh, why does this always happen to me? And it keeps coming back to you over and over again, and that's really challenging. So the way to do this is, well, I actually have something called Dating Detox. That's actually why I'm here in Jerusalem. I have a program that's called Dating Detox, and it walks you through the process of detoxing from your old relationships and the things that you have dealt with, and it helps you to move on in a way that is going to be new and fresh and different and healthy, in a way that's going to be healing and nurturing to you. So I've actually run this program multiple times. We are coming out with our new version of Dating Detox. We're doing a new recording and we're going to release it in January. So if you are somebody who is carrying some old dating baggage and this is with you and it's something that you're kind of thinking about, you can reach out to me and I will send you a message and information about how you can do this program and what it's all about. It's really, really special, and it's really hard to move through these things. So my heart really goes out to you. Okay, so somebody's asking, how do you know after marriage that a person's not a crazy person? Because everybody's on their best behavior, and it's all an act until marriage, and then the person really shines through. If you date for a longer period of time, you might be able to see more signs. And if you're having a little bit of a gut instinct or you're seeing inconsistencies and inconsistent patterns of behavior, that's when you're going to see like what I would call red flags that should help you to go, let me pause. Let me get to know them a little more. I'm a little concerned about this. And before I jump into a long-term relationship, I need to investigate this more with dating. If you're not sure, date a little bit longer. Get more clarity and get more information. That's the best way for you to know. Okay, if a person just said the date is not possible, is it okay to ask why it isn't possible? Like why somebody would be saying no to you? So people, even if you ask, you're not always going to get a straight answer. And as a matchmaker, I don't always get a straight answer. Okay, we're back. So I don't always get a straight answer. And a lot of the reasons is sometimes because either the looks don't work, the personality doesn't work, the background doesn't work. My friend is a friend of a friend who knows you and they don't think it's a match. There could be dozens of reasons why somebody doesn't think it's a match. And even if you ask, they're probably not going to tell you the truth because people are often afraid to tell the truth. And that's mostly what they tell me. So they just make up an answer. So I don't usually find it worthwhile to ask. You know, you could try, but it doesn't usually yield very interesting results. Okay, so the question was about, is it okay for the girl to help plan a date? So my answer would be yes, but I would love it if he would plan a first date, a second date, and if you want to plan a third date, that would be great. I love to see initiative from men. I love to see them engaged in the dating process. I love to see them making an effort, and I think it can be reciprocal, but I do love to see it happen from the guy's side first, and then later on to have the girl planning the date. I don't want everything to fall on a girl's shoulders and for her to consistently be the one to be making and planning the dates. I want to make sure that a guy is making an appropriate effort, who's really going out of his way to take her out, to do something special or different or nice or, you know, just a good date. I want to see effort and initiative. That to me shows interest. So that's really important to me. Thank you so much, Israel, for clarifying the question. Okay, so Deborah says, I learned it's good to see the man's type of friends and how he acts around both his family and friends. So the answer would be yes. And obviously that's not going to be on a first or a second date. It's going to be further down the road, but it is good to see how people behave in different circumstances. People will typically be a little more immature around their family, like people kind of age down emotionally when they're around their family. And that's something that's pretty normal. But seeing how they interact with their with their friends is going to be something that's like a little bit more real. So I do like that as a way to kind of be like your own matchmaker and investigate a match, is to see how somebody's really acting. Okay, let's keep going. Quick question here. Will people go out with divorced people? All the time. Yes. Tons and tons and tons of matches are made with divorced people. It is completely 100% normal, real, and what's happening in the world, because people are single, married, widowed, divorced, you name it. And yes, absolutely, people, they'll date divorced people, they'll date people with or without kids, absolutely 100%. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to pull up another 1 or 2 questions that I have here from my list, and then let's see where we're at here. Okay. Okay. Question about calling references on a resume and asking for yourself. Do people care if the single guy or girl is calling? Sometimes it's nice when family or friends call, but but they take time till they get back to you. And so is it weird if a single guy or a single girl is calling on their own behalf? So I will tell you this, references, no matter who calls, whether it's you as the dater that's, looking to go out with this person, or you have somebody call on your behalf, references are only as good as they are. Some references really do not give much information, or they give generic things. Oh yeah, great guy, great girl, sure, go out with them, they're lovely, wonderful, we know them. Other times they're like, oh yeah, they're good people, nice, but they don't give you any real information. So it's not super helpful when we don't have real information. Can you call on your own behalf? You can. It depends on what's done in your circles as to what's normal or what's not normal. It's really up to you, what you want to do. And if you don't have the right people to support you, then definitely I would move ahead and say, yeah, I'm calling, just to find a little bit of more information out, and make sure you have good questions, open-ended questions. If you don't know what they are exactly, or if you didn't see the video a few minutes ago, Google open-ended questions, or how to ask open-ended questions in dating. Put it in there. Find out the answers. Don't just ask yes or no questions. Make sure you're asking questions that are going to elicit real answers so that you can get real information from people. Okay, here we go. After going on 2 dates, the guy said no. He said he didn't see it hashkafically. I was very confused. After taking time to process the dates and try to move on, I'm still confused and unsure as to what he meant. It seemed to me that we were on the same page hashkafically. We vibed, we had a good time, we had a good connection. There was no indication that we weren't on the same page hashkafically. Is it okay for me to message the shadchan and voice my confusion and thoughts, even just to get closure? So you're always welcome to message somebody. You may or may not get an answer. What I would tell you is, if somebody says hashkafically and you don't understand because they seem to be on the same page as you, either A, they didn't really tell you what their hashkafa was, so they're not being super clear, or B, it's not really about hashkafa, it's really about something totally different, and they didn't want to own up to it, and they didn't want to say what it was. So we don't actually know what the real reason is. You could ask a shadchan, they may or may not know, and even if they know, they may or may not say it, depending on if the information is relevant. In terms of closure, again, I would say rejection is protection. Rejection is protection. If Hashem said no, Hashem said no, it's not for you. Can you investigate it? Yes. Can you say, let's try again? Yes. Can you look into it more? Yes. In terms of closure, though, I want you to have closure in your heart where you accept the situation. And if you can't get closure from outside of yourself, you need to get closure from inside of yourself. Okay, those are all the pre-listed questions. Let me go through this here and see what else has been coming in. Okay, here's a good question. How do you deal with a shadchan that you don't want to connect with? Great question. You could simply say, I'm not available right now, okay? I'm not available doesn't mean you're dating somebody. It means I'm not available for you to set me up, okay? You could simply say that, or if you don't want to connect with them Some people will simply just not respond and they'll ghost them. I'd rather you just say that you're not available. It gives the person, closure. They can then move on. If they say, oh, let me know when you are available, you can just never let them know and never be available to them if that's not the type of person that you want to connect with. It depends. Like some people are very direct and they just want to say something. Super direct people might say something like, I don't think that you and I are a good match. I know you want to try to help me make my match. Thank you so much. But I don't think that you and I are a good match, to be working together. And so, thank you so much for your support. But, I'm okay right now. It's difficult to do that. How should someone date if they don't want to go through a matchmaker? So again, you have to be your own best matchmaker. You have to try to build a rapport or a connection without having a go-between between you, which is really difficult. But you need to do that. Or you can bring another matchmaker in from the outside. That's also a possibility. Okay, here we go. How does a guy handle a new full-time job with no accumulated days off and in grad school, online, living out of New York, and women don't want to start with online dates, willing to pay for and make all. Okay, this is a whole thing here. If you are too busy to date, don't date. If you have a full-time job and, you don't have days off and you're going to school and, I would just tell you you're not in an appropriate position to date. I would say don't date. Finish up with something in your life and come back to dating when you actually have time. It's not easy, but it's the way it's got to be. Just looking through here. Okay, so clarification here. What if you don't feel a connection to the shadchan, but they're suggesting good suggestions, so you don't have a choice? If they're making good suggestions, I don't care if you have a good connection with the shadchan. Talk to somebody else about the dating process and just let them actually set you up, but use somebody else to kind of coach you through the matchmaking process so they don't have to be kind of like the talking shadchan that is working with you through the process. They can just be the shadchan that is actually setting up the date for you. That's my recommendation. And yes, they can be there only at the initial stages, but then either A, you take the date into your own hands, B, you hire a coach or a different matchmaker to just help support the match, or C, yes, you take it into your own hands. I might have said that for A also. Okay, I think we did it. Wow, that was a lot of questions answered. Okay, so in case you don't know, I'm Aleeza Ben Shalom. I work as a dating and relationship coach and a matchmaker. I love working through the relationship process. I have a lot of programs to offer and a lot of support, especially in the area of dating detoxes, soulmate clarity, how do you know if it's the one? Besides myself, I have a whole team of coaches that I work with. I absolutely love what I do. You can find tons of articles online on aish.com. You can go to my website, which is marriagemindedmentor.com. You can check out what we're all about. There's tons of free advice. If you love podcasts, you can check out my podcast, which is called The Dating Coach is In. Lots and lots more advice there with lots of different questions and things. I thank you so much for being here. I thank you so much for sharing your questions and for being open and for engaging in a lively discussion with me. And I want to end with a bracha and tell you that I hope that you have an easy time getting through the dating process. May this year be the year that you have clarity, that you find your person. May they also have clarity, and may you build a beautiful Bayis Ne'eman B'Yisrael. All the best. Thank you so much for coming tonight.